Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
Hey, this is Tyler Jones, and you're listening to the Element Podcast. What's happening, all my woods people? I'm sitting here, and I don't know what we call this section. I can't really call it the mouse house because I hadn't seen any mouse sign up here. Do you have a name for this section yet?
Taco Casa.
Taco Casa. That sounds good. That's about right. We just got done eating some tacos, and you're hearing my buddy KC Smith, who I've been hanging out with most of the day. What have we been up to, man?
Well, we've been being bums a lot, but we've got some things accomplished today.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We did some filming today.
Yeah.
We did,
we did some map scouting.
We did.
We did some trail camera looking, picture looking, and that kind of thing. We looked on our map scouting, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of map scouting, okay, right off the bat, guys, here's the deal. When we say map scouting, we're on the OnX Maps premium system, okay? We are looking at maps all over the heartland because Tyler's like scrambling because he's got the itch. He's going to go on a September hunt.
We'll talk about why later.
Trying to find, we'll talk about why in a little bit. Trying to find some legit public land that may be in overlooked spots. And what's cool about OnX is you can turn on all these layers and find the place like the walk-in properties or the like unknown public land places. Outside WMAs, there's other stuff you can hunt too, and you can see that on the public lands layer on the OnX. Then overlay that with their units from different states and all kinds of crazy stuff. I tell you all that to tell you this. We are giving away 2 premium memberships to OnX Maps, okay? So all you need to do to qualify for that is go to our show on the iTunes app, all right, the Element Podcast, scroll all the way down, like take your finger and a couple times, all the way down at the bottom, and it'll give you a spot that has how many stars you can put, okay? Go to the rightmost star, the 5th one, click it, and then to actually win the membership, you're going to have to actually write something. So just write something like, Tyler's hat is cool, or it doesn't matter what it is, okay? Just something nice. If you say something mean, the random draw might not pick you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what you got to do to win those. And those are like that's a pretty legit, that's probably one of the best prizes we've ever given away.
I mean, I would think so.
As far as value to me,
for sure.
I'm on it every day, every day of my life. It's like, it's better than a pair of shoes because I swap them out.
That's right. That's right. And I'll tell you what, we'll give you a second to go do that real quick. So go ahead and pause. Okay. So the next thing I want to tell you guys about is we kind of hinted at this recently, but we are going to be dropping a film. And by drop, if you're not too hip, that means release the film to public viewing on September 4th. That's like less than a month.
It is less than a month. And we just had a private viewing here in my casa of you and I on a HGTV, and it is baller if I do say so myself. I mean, I was there and it was cool. You know, like, man, this is good.
Yeah.
So
I love going back and watching the film because, you know, there's so many things that I would forget otherwise.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so
For
many
sure,
little
man.
details, and it's really cool to go back and see this film. It's called Nameless. Okay, so be looking for it. You'll understand why at the end of the film that it's called Nameless. But it's the deer that I shot last year in Kansas, and man, it's cool. It's cool. I can't tell you how excited I am, how proud of it. We worked really hard on some of the B-roll shots to help tell the story, and I've worked really hard editing this thing and working on audio and all these kinds of things. So we're really stoked about that. Be looking for that. We're going to probably be posting some teasers in the next couple weeks to kind of get everybody excited about it. But yeah, you have that. Also, we're going to be talking a lot of trail cameras today. And before we get to that, I want to make sure everybody knows that the guest that we have is Jake Hofer from Exodus, and he's got some really interesting tips and thoughts and some cool stories. And he even texted me afterwards, and he was like, man, I had this really good story. And he's like, told me the story. He's like, I can't believe I forgot to tell that one too. So we might have to have him back on. But Jake's a cool dude, and he's going to tell us, give us plenty of tips on how to effectively run cameras here at the end of the summer and find bucks that we can target this fall.
yeah, he's a big buck slayer too. So I just saw on his Instagram story that he just got 2 back from the taxidermist from this past year.
Yeah.
Toads.
Yeah.
Man.
It's got to be a good problem to have where you're
Oh
like,
my
I'm
gosh.
spending so much money on mounts because I'm shooting.
I'm
so
running
many
out of
deer.
wall space here. They're all 23 inches wide. So
We have a friend that is running out of wall space.
I
in
actually
his
built
man
him
cave.
new walls so that he could put up deer heads.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, speaking of from now till summer, you have an elk hunt coming up.
I do. We thought we were going to have an elk hunt coming up, but in fact we do not.
No, we
because
don't.
Tyler and I spent our morning
Crying a little bit.
with inflated bladders, sitting in a vehicle, stealing Wi-Fi from a public facility, trying to get through to the Colorado leftover licensing system. Today was leftover day, which is like Black Friday for CPW, I would imagine. But we spent about 25 minutes trying to get through, and almost.
I have 140 140 a call attempts.
So between us, we have, let's see here, 150 on my end. So, yeah, 290.
Almost 300 calls. Mm-hmm. How many of those were answered by Colorado Parks and Wildlife?
0 of those
Absolutely.
were. Yeah, that was tough. That was a tough blow to take. And then you got through on the internet. Tyler got through on the internet. We're good to go. We're going to be in this pretty decent unit. And got to the last page and to make payments. And when Tyler pressed like submit payment, pretty much right, like the 20th button you had to click. Actually, after you had to tell him like 5 times that you were a non-resident for some reason.
Yeah.
Finally, he clicks it. Quota not available, which means that there's no longer a tag there.
It was available. I put in for several hunts, and it was one of the available ones. Mm-hmm. And so when out of those hunts, it tells you pretty much up front. And so from that time until the submit payment, which was like 15 minutes later because of how swamped their system was, but it was only like 15 clicks or whatever, whatever. From in between that 15-minute period, it got filled somehow. So
yeah, it kind of really stinks. A couple times Tyler clicked the wrong button, which I was guilty of today too. Don't you worry. But
Dude.
It's like their server gets super bogged down. Okay, because think about it. This is Colorado Parks and Wildlife. When you're talking about like February, they have got 0 things going on server wise. You know what I mean? They've got like all this bandwidth for like a couple people like wanting to know what trails are open or something. You know, something super easy. And then all of a sudden, at the beginning of August, the hammer comes down and everybody across the United States is calling, trying to get tags, and their servers are logging in or whatever.
circus comes to town.
I say all that to say that when you click a button, it takes it like it's like the old dial-up days, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
It
took pretty much minimum 2 minutes, it seemed like. Minute to 2 minutes at least.
And I never got through online.
No.
So
That was just my computer,
Yeah.
yeah. For some reason, yours was you were behind me or something. I guess.
I think it was just a luck of the draw thing. I think I just never, because right at the end, like I was able to click like non-resident or something like old aim. That didn't matter. But I never got to even put in for a tag in the leftover. But that's all right. It's not something we're guaranteed. So it's not like. I'm not like mad about it. I'm just sad.
Yeah, I was actually pretty sad because, and I didn't plan on going elk hunting today. Or this year. I'm sure you guys have heard me kind of talk about it or us talk about it I didn't plan on going this year. And when KC started looking at leftover stuff, I thought, dang, there's some pretty good tags. We should try. And we did our research and stuff. And man, they went quick. You know, I don't know. I'm guessing. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe just so much media about Western units these days that people just are eating them up, or I don't know. But, man, it was like we couldn't – it was just – from 10 o'clock on, it was just a blast. Mm-hmm. It was crazy. We were having fun for sure, but, like, also as I'm going through this application process and figuring out, like, hey, I have a chance at this tag, and I get all the way to the submit and – find out that I don't, huge letdown. And I was just like, not to mention I've been really been staying up late working really hard on this film that we're talking about, and played a show this past weekend, and I'm just exhausted. And so like all of it hit me at once at like 10:30, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna go eat lunch and I'll be at your house later on.
Yeah, it was kind of tough. It's kind of one of those like almost was the last straw kind of thing, or whatever, or breaks the camel's back, or whatever. With you today, I could tell you were beat, but you kind of cheered up towards the afternoon.
Yeah, no, I feel good now. Good. Once I ate lunch, I was like, you know what, just got to get over it. I wasn't planning on going anyway. Yeah, whatever. And this gives me also started doing some research on whitetail stuff, which is what you kind of alluded to earlier, and started thinking about the whitetail thing a little bit and seeing if there's some stuff out there for me to possibly go do, and I'm still not real convinced. September's not a great time in the whitetail woods. I feel like
it's an elk month, Tyler.
It is an elk month. Hunting. I should, but dadgummit, dude, y'all do it hard, and I'm not as manly as y'all.
You did just fine last year.
I did all right, but dude, I got this weird thing. I've probably talked about it before on podcasts, but I kind of deal with a little bit of vertigo, and I know you and I talked about it, but for the listener, it's a weird thing, and like the more tired that I am, like the less sleep I get during a day or like a 24-hour cycle, it almost feels amplified. And so like I felt, last year felt like I kind of held us back going up there, because we had to kind of like take a break and get us a nap somewhere in New Mexico or wherever we were at, and then.
They sell stuff in Colorado that'll help you.
I've heard that. I've heard it can help a lot of things. But yeah, I don't know. And then like, so doing it hard like that, man, it's just rough. Like that, and then the altitude, it just kind of seems, it's weird, man, going up and down the mountains. And I could definitely tell when I was a little bit dizzy, I'd be a little bit dizzy going through some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I had a great time for sure. Even though it was kind of slow, I guess. I mean, I know we saw a bunch of elk, but like bugling wise, we didn't really hear anything.
That's
hardly.
True. Bugling wise was kind of slow, but I mean, we saw the most elk I'd ever seen. But I think it's because we covered the most ground, and I intend to do something similar this year. Just if I have to go by myself, it might be a little bit different. I don't know. I've got a couple prospects, guys that might want to go, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You thinking like Will Primos or?
Yeah. I mean, we hunt the same unit most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured it was somebody high profile like that.
Yeah, that's how I roll.
So if you do end up going by yourself, what's that strategy looking like?
Probably a touch more conservative as far as like calling goes, which I don't really know why, except maybe I'm just kind of evolving just a touch. I just look like last year we had a great year, but we didn't come home with an elk, and I think that there are steps we could have taken to come home with an elk. And last year, technically, I was hunting by myself because you were just filming. You didn't call much. You did help me a little bit on calling sequences with, like, raking trees and stuff, But for the most part, I was a solo hunter. I was calling for myself. Mm-hmm. And, whenever you're doing a tag team elk hunt, normally you got a caller and a shooter, and you swap out, So I think this year I'll probably cover as much country, maybe not do quite as aggressive like blind calls, And I can just think about that one raghorn who had the two cows with him. I should have killed that elk. Like 100%, he should have died. We saw him at 70 yards.
Yeah, probably.
Him and the cows were grazing at 70 yards, kind of in the timber. And for one thing, I stopped to take my pack off, which was kind of dumb. I don't know why I did it. It just was what I did. And two, I don't remember how that transpired, but they didn't come any closer to us. I don't remember if we called to them. Or
I think eventually you did.
Did I?
I'd have to go back and look at some of that raw footage.
I think I could have just stalked in on those elk. Probably could have kept walking another 15 yards.
I'm pretty sure you had a gap, and you were like, man,
couldn't cover it.
He just I don't know if he either stopped vitals just out of the gap, or if you were like, man, that's just such a far shot. You know?
You talking about when they were headed kind of up after they kind of figured? Yeah, he was at 60, I think, right there. But all I had was shoulder forward.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's right.
There ain't nothing there.
Yeah.
Which was, that was 8 inches from killing an elk right there.
Yeah.
Because at 60, I would have shot all day at 60. Mm-hmm. Still would.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anyways.
Man, it's getting me excited just thinking about it.
I know it, dude. And then had that bull charge into 10 yards and then freak out because he saw me drawing my bow. See, hindsight, if I would have just sat still, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
Or if when you said bull, if I wouldn't have said where, and if I had just drawn right then because I knew there was a bull somewhere. But I guess, you never know when
well, he
that
could be
bull
just looking right at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just one of them deals, dude. It's one of those you just weren't meant to kill him. He's, you can look back and think I might could have done this or that, but then you probably just made the right decision overall, and it wasn't meant to happen.
That elk duked on himself when he was headed out. There wasn't what was that? It was I'm getting out of Dodge.
Yeah.
And he peeled
There's
out.
video of it on our YouTube if you're confused about what we're talking about.
Go watch Spiked Out. It's pretty
it's called
sweet.
Spiked Out. It's if you go to our YouTube, it's probably the first video you'll see. It's 2017 elk hunting in Colorado. It was a lot of fun. We didn't kill, but Brennan, our buddy, did, and we did a podcast. I think it's 44 or something. I can't remember. Maybe
that's a cool podcast.
Maybe it's 30 something. I can't remember, but it was somewhere in there. There's a podcast where he were around the campfire and everything. Man, telling stories.
It was super chill. So it's not like a hype sesh by any means because we get a little hype, but the ambience is so cool because the popping of the spruce and stuff in the fire. Man, it was awesome.
Dude, that was
after the best meal we'd ever eaten in our lives too.
Yeah.
So
butter and salt and pepper backstrap.
Man, a stick of butter per steak or something.
We're just dumping it on there.
I know it.
Man, I don't know. It was a lot of fun for sure, and we had some encounters. We definitely had, I think, a chance to kill some cows and stuff, but we didn't take that. It was just a weird situation where we were just kind of
the one was. We had a herd bull we were chasing, and I had a cow shot at 70 or something like that, and it was
it's if there wasn't a herd bull bugling at 300 yards right now,
exactly,
or whatever he's at,
yeah. And the other cow, I was drawn, fixing to shoot, and then the wind shifted.
Yeah.
We were so close, man.
Remember the cow at 20 yards in the aspens?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
yeah.
And she was literally working her way towards us in this aspen thicket that was so thick. As she was at 20, probably 22 yards, and we couldn't see her most of the time. We couldn't see any part of her body most of the time. It was nuts.
Yeah.
And she was coming at us, but we were in them, man. It was fun for sure. It's just it's definitely a tough hunt, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I spent a lot of time gone last year on hunts filming because I did that, and then I did the British Columbia thing. For the second year in a row, and we weren't successful there. I kind of feel like I'm a bad luck for other guys, but but yeah, it's just I don't know what. I'm still confused on what I need to do in September, but I think I need to do something.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's just scout, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll probably be talking about that in the next couple weeks. You got a present today.
I did. The Brown Santa brought me, UPS. Yeah. They brought me 3 boxes, one of which was actually hunting gear. The other 2 were VBS supplies, so that's also very important. Yeah. But
this present, though, is going to, be part of your elk hunting setup.
Man, I feel like the Flash Gordon of the elk hunting woods right now. I got some Scarpa. What model are these? They're I can't remember what model they are. Is it going to tell me? Yeah, Zodiac Tech GTX, and they are hunter orange.
Yes.
They are flashy, if I do say so myself.
I love them, dude.
Dude, I like them too. They feel good. I walked around the house with them for quite a while ago. I haven't tested them out, outside or whatnot. I bought them off of Backcountry, which is a really cool spot to buy stuff because, I do feel like the people at Backcountry know some stuff because like they're pretty legit. It's like REI, but on the internet pretty much, and they have a lot of good deals. And B, they've got some pretty good systems where like I can try these out at the house, make sure the fit's right, and send them back and get my money back if the fit's not right. Now, if I get them out and get them dirty, it's a different deal,
right.
And then they give you store credit, but you still can send them back and get what works for you. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool little gig, man.
For sure, man. I bought a beanie off of Backcountry a few years ago.
Yeah, beanies are nice.
Yeah, I got pictures of Journey wearing it. On vacation.
That's cool.
But anyway, it's those boots look pretty awesome. I think they're going to be. They're a similar shape, I feel like, and they also have the same sole as, or same type of sole as my Mendel's.
Yeah. We actually filmed an unboxing of these today,
yeah.
And I guess that'll probably hit the channel sometime.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to get it up by the time this podcast releases, but if I can't, it will be soon after.
Yeah, ain't no big deal. But we'll have those up for you to look at one of these days. They're pretty cool. I'll let you know how they work too as season progresses. They're made to, like their pitch on this line of boot was to be between like a trail hiker and a mountaineering boot. So like that timberline kind of spot, which is a lot of times where you're going to find elk. So I think it'd make a pretty good elk hunting boot. And even one of the people I talked to at Backcountry, they're like, yeah, I think this would probably be a pretty good elk hunting boot, to be honest. So I was like, that was also nice too because they weren't like, ooh, hunting.
Yeah.
They were cool.
Like some certain brands.
Yeah, for real.
So are those going to be whitetail boots as well?
Probably a little early season, I would imagine. Yeah.
Then what are you going to switch to?
I've got those Alpha Burley Pros.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot.
So I'll be wearing they're 800 grain thin slate. Is it gram or grain?
Gram, I'm pretty sure.
Is it gram? Okay.
I don't want to correct you, but I have heard you say grain before.
I always mess it up.
It's all right. I think people understand.
Yeah,
so.
800G thin slate.
I mean, we can say horns or antlers, and people are probably going to understand, right?
Yeah, probably so. They
probably. You never know.
Yeah. But those are going to be too warm for our Octobers, for sure. Yeah, so I'm going to have to go something different.
Yep. So.
But what's nice is that since we didn't draw our backcountry hunt, I'm not going to be spending near the amount of money as I thought I was going to kind of prep for that because I'm just not set up for backcountry really. I'm just going to have to buy a few things. So I'll kind of have not extra, but it'll just it's always nice to feel good financially going into the hunting season.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I would imagine. So, what is your plan for breaking in those boots? Because you're not going to run in them.
No, I'm not going to run in them. I'm going to walk on an incline treadmill quite a bit with them, and then I will probably go do some hill climbing in them, see how they treat my heels.
How far are you going to have to go to do that?
I don't know.
Many hills around here.
Well, I've got a decent one down the street that's probably like a
go up
40 foot of elevation. Yeah,
at night.
For real. Yeah, I don't know. There's might go drive to a reservoir somewhere or something and walk the dam if I can or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but well, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I can stick their treadmill pretty inclined, so it'll be nice. And just walking around and. I'm going to put some weight on my back and see how they do with that, see how my arches feel and stuff. But, man, they've got this cool feel, and you talked about it too with your Mendel's, how, it's almost like when you take steps, it's like launching you forward.
Yeah.
Like it balances you out to go forward, like you're not made to stand still in them. They're not standing shoes. They're walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally feels like you're shooting forward with every step, like a little bit extra.
It's a good feeling, man.
It is, man. I love it.
And I like them, too, because they're not, super heavy, really. For as, burly of a boot they are, they're pretty lightweight. They got a decent amount of synthetic on them, I think, is part of it. And then, a lighter suede leather. So
let me ask you this.
What up?
Does the hardcore mountain climber guy, does he buy a pair of boots to hike the trail, to get to the timberline, to put on those shoes, those boots that he buys, to go from trail to timberline up to the face,
I think
and then
so.
switch boots again.
I think so.
So he's got like $1,000 in boots.
Oh, easily. But like, think about this: if you're a hardcore mountain climber, you're not a hardcore whitetailer. If you are one and you listen, let us know, because we'd like to talk to you. But so like, I stopped in Westcliff and talked to the guy who was a hardcore mountain climber. I told you about this guy. We stopped in his shop. If you're in Westcliff, Colorado, which you probably won't be, but if you are, stop and see. What's the name of his shop? Anyways, it's there downtown. The only mountain climbing shop in town, pretty much. But I was like, so man, what's your gig? Like, are you all about that backpacking life? You know, do you like to summit? And he's like, I want to climb the highest mountains in the world. Like, straight up, just like as confident as a man can be, looked me in the eye and told me that. I was like, all right, you're my guy. I want to talk to you for a little while. And anyways, he was cool. And yeah, I think because they make what technically this fills the gap between an approach shoe and a mountaineering boot. So I would imagine your approach shoe is for while you approach the mountain. I don't know. Maybe.
Interesting. You know, when you get back from that elk hunt, it's not long until deer season.
Oh, not at all.
I mean, it's like a week probably.
A week, yeah.
So, what are we going to do, or what are your plans to get you to where, basically, what are you thinking about, like, I need to do this from a whitetail standpoint before I go to elk hunting and before I really, like, get into that mode, and then before season, what are your plans?
With a goal of what?
Well, I would think your goal is to shoot a 4.5-year-old buck on public land.
Is that giving me the whole season, or is that you saying, like, try to kill one in October?
No, I'm just saying, like, what are your trail camera plans, like, or preseason scouting plans up until the elk hunt, and then, or do you have any, and if so, what, between elk hunt and opening or first cold front in October?
Well, there's a parcel that I want to go walk to the backside of to maybe check on some agriculture. I'd like to go do just to kind of see, and that's kind of more like prepping for later in the season, but it's good to get it figured out now. That way you don't have to go in there with all your gear and equipment and stuff and get back and there's no deer using this, this farmer's field or whatever. But that's quite a ways away. There also, okay, so we didn't have a great pull at Babylon the other day.
No.
Which is kind of stinky.
But we only ran one camera, and we ran two, but one of them,
the tree fell on.
Yeah, you can see that in our latest PLC.
It's kind of lame, but got a Roadrunner.
So now we have two, though, over there. So there's a chance we figure a little more out than we actually got.
But I want to do, like, maybe at least just see what are on those cameras would probably be best. And then, really, I feel best about our chances of trying to target an October buck over on TR with you and Teenager. That's where I feel good about it actually possibly happening. So, you and I have talked a lot about it, and we think that we need to add a couple more trail cameras over there. And we're going to kind of load that place up with them, but it's because we think it's actually going to help. There's a couple places that we think there is some bedding, or that there could be bedding that we don't have covered in the camera. And it's so hard this time of year because, man, the bucks just aren't moving far, So if you don't have your camera within, 200, maybe 300 yards of his bed, it's likely that you won't get the animal on camera. So, but we do think we found some holes in kind of our web over there that we'd like to go put some cameras and stuff. And then while we're there, you and I talked about it today. I think we're going to do some serious acorn scouting. Like, not like we're in here checking this camera. Let's look at this tree over here. Like, hey, let's find all the oaks on the map and go glass them all and see who's going to have acorns dropping at what time of the year. Because last year, the shoemards over there were like a big, big draw. Yeah. And I would think it'd be that way every year, except they're red oaks, which means they only produce every other year. So some trees are going to produce this year and some aren't.
But they produce every year, right? According to Lindsay Thomas.
Like, there are somewhere.
But they'll have better years than.
If a tree put acorns off last year, it is not putting off acorns this year.
Okay.
On a red oak. But somewhere in the woods.
I thought they just had a 2-year growth cycle, but they put off every year.
I don't think so. I think it's every other year they're going to put off an acorn. We might actually need to go back and listen to our own podcast on that because I'm pretty sure that's the case. But somewhere in the woods, there will be a shumard putting off because it's on a different cycle. It's like salmon that go into the ocean. They come back, or some of them come back and spawn on 2 years. You have salmon every year, but you don't have a salmon who comes back and goes halfway up the river and goes back out the next year. You know, like they go out for a year and make their circles, eat squid, and then come back up the river.
And we've done a little bit of tree scouting over there, and didn't find any acorns on those trees, and that was kind of a bummer to me because I felt like that was a very, very good early season ambush point because of how close it is to a late season ambush point for him. So I thought, this would be good. But I've told you this, but I feel a little bit like, man, we're spending a lot of time pretty much on a property that has one shooter buck on it, and it's like going to be one of those deals where, like, I feel like if we were at Babylon and there was like 4 different bucks, like it has been in the past, it's like, and if it was in this situation, say it was a spot I found or whatever, and just we haven't really like said that we're gonna like you can't hunt my spot or anything kind of thing, but like I would feel a lot better if we were really putting in a lot of time on a spot that you felt like you could shoot a buck, even if I shot a buck or whatever kind of deal. And so, like, it's just a weird deal.
I ain't worried about it.
I know, but it feels selfish. And so, like, I'm a little bit feeling that way. Not to mention, like, all these, every time we go up in there, and it, like, seems to kick my tail. It's, like, pretty long ways into some of these spots, and just not easy to get to. And so, I don't know. It's a lot of work for what really hasn't panned out yet.
Yeah.
But if it does, all that work is going to make it sweeter, I feel like,
Yeah, for sure, man. It will be super nice if we can make something happen over there. And that's the thing is that, okay, so I know I used like another nature example earlier. I'm going to use another one now. Okay, so you've got 2 different types of nesting birds. Okay, actually there's probably quite a few different types, but I can think of 2 that fit this example. So we're going to use those 2.
All
right. So you've got birds that lay 3 eggs, and then the hatchlings hatch, and then they figure out which one's going to be the strongest, and they ignore the other 2. Okay? And that one is like almost guaranteed survival to being a fledgling. All right. Then you've got birds who lay 2 or 3 eggs. They all hatch, and they work their hardest to feed all of those, but they have a really good chance of having just a complete nest failure because they can't find enough food to feed their chicks. So would you rather have the one that you've put all this concentration into and like get it nailed down, or would you rather have like 3 over here that you kind of think they might pan out?
Well, we've
both
talked about that. Yeah, we've talked about it kind of that way too. Like we've talked, should we be going different places? Should we be trying different WMAs here and there? Should we be places that we haven't seen yet? Should we be traveling farther and finding these new places and finding new bucks to hunt?
I think
or should we focus on the ones that we know are pretty much there?
Our solution has been, we've tried it. We've branched out a little bit, but I think it's like to try to blend those 2 together to where like there's no reason to neglect a good thing. But at the same time, like if you're not moving around trying new things, what are you really learning?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely been a tough deal. And like I said, this is a pretty large property we've had cameras on it for a year and a half now and have only seen 1 shooter buck on any of these cameras all over it. So it's kind of just a hard deal, man. I mean, I feel like in other parts of the world, you'd have several decent shooter bucks on it, and it's just one of them deals that we have to deal with, and makes it frustrating at times because patterns aren't easy, and just sitting there and doing that kind of thing. I kind of wonder about rattling in that area, honestly. Like it's one of those deals, like depending on how much time we spend in there, if I feel okay about just like kind of screwing things up a little bit, I might try to rattle,
Yeah.
Especially if I have a good wind, which there's a lot of situations on that property I think we could get a good wind,
Sure.
for rattling. So.
And it might be a cool idea to do something like that, like before we head out to a different state.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to be in there for a week or so when that happens anyways. So, hey, what's it going to hurt?
Right. It's a good idea. It's a good idea, actually. Yep. I don't know. What about when you get back from elk? Are you basically thinking we're going to wait till cold front to hunt in October?
I bet I'll be somewhere the first day of season.
You think?
Yeah. I was last year.
On public?
And it was fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. I've got some places really close to home. There's one that I'm pretty sure I can go hunt on private. I can't really do a lot of management or any habitat manipulation there, but there's always deer there. So I might be able to shoot a doe close to home on private. I don't know. But it's kind of fun going out on public and doing the first day thing. I don't know why. I just I enjoy it. So
yeah.
I bet I'll be out there sweating for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Are you gonna thermocell it or anything?
I might do that because I have one. I didn't use it last year, which might just be me being real stupid. I don't know, but yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes ate us up last year when we did that doe hunt.
Yeah.
And filmed.
That was really the only time they got us bad, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
better be prepared than not.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I'm ready to get back and really finalize some of this trail camera stuff. Get those ones that we were talking about, and then and I want to have some good pools going in the season because last year it's like it got worse right before the season, and then like we kind of left us like, what do we do in October?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be there. I want to know what we're doing in October.
Yeah.
I want to have good ideas, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of one of our goals. If we want to travel around as much as we're going to this fall, we need to we don't need to wait till November to start killing some deer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And we've got a few Exodus trail cameras we need to put out that are pretty awesome.
We do.
We actually are going to be able to get really good trigger speed out of video and that kind of thing, which we're excited about. Because in the past, some of our, we're in a lot of video, and some of our trigger speed on video has seemed to suffer as compared to your still images and that sort of thing. And we did a test today, which by the time you hear this will be a couple days. But we did a test. I think we did it live on Facebook and maybe Insta, and it was trigger speed was fast, man, on just straight up video. So
it was.
I'm excited about that because we've had our woes as far as trail cameras go already this year, and it'd be good to pull one and have some cool things happening for us. So
It would.
I'm excited and looking forward to it, and I think this is probably a good time to get Jake on the phone and tell us tips about how to run them, and hopefully we can use that to diminish those woes that we've had.
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right, let's do it. All right, so on the phone we have Jake Hofer. He's the marketing manager of Exodus Gear. Man, what's been happening the last week? You been staying cool?
Yeah, I've been trying to stay cool. We actually we just left the Jurassic Classic last weekend. Had a fantastic time. Mark Meekers does a fantastic job at that event, and is a genius for able to coordinate such a fun and exciting event.
What is the fantastic Jurassic Classic?
Man, it is I would say, I'm trying to think of Woodstock of deer hunting, maybe.
Okay.
Just kidding. It's a big camping event where everyone who loves deer hunting and enjoys a good time heads out there, camps out. They have a fantastic line of music. There's a bunch of vendors. There's might be the world's biggest, or at least the country's biggest 50-50 raffle or drawing. And I think they gave away like $140,000 in the 50-50 on Saturday.
Whoa.
So yeah, it's pretty intense. And if you're in the area or in the Ohio area or even East Coast or Midwest, it's worth the drive because it's a really fun time, and they do a fantastic job of everything they do.
That's cool, man. I don't know why I'm so ignorant to that event. I guess where is it based out of?
It's in Cambridge, Ohio. They have it's a nonprofit. It's Jurassic Park, and it's an educational organization. They introduce people to hunting. They have some farm deer on the property, and they have that big event, and that pretty much funds the whole thing. And everything they do great. And if you're in the area and able to go, I mean, put it down on your calendar and go.
Yeah, man, that's cool. That's you seem to do a lot of events. Are you traveling around most of the summer doing stuff like that?
We do some traveling. In the early year, February, March, April, we do a lot of shows, and then really in the summer, usually they're a little more laid back, a little more fun, and we do those too. And it's always great to get out and talk to people who are like-minded, and it's even better to run into people who use our cameras and say they love them.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So, I was texting. We were in a group, Casey and I and a friend, yesterday, and he was talking. He was showing us some of the deer he has, and he said it's still early. And I started thinking about it. I was like, man, it's kind of actually feels like getting down to crunch time for me, because I don't know, maybe it's just my particular situation, being that we hunt a lot of public, but like we can't just go check them that often when you're walking in 3/4 of a mile to a mile and a half or whatever to check a camera. You only can get so many in a day, and so I feel like we only have like one more check on some of these cameras before we get to the season. And so, like it's imperative that when we do check them, we get them moved to the right spot. But, speaking of the trail cameras and kind of a mid to late summer, I guess time period, like why should a deer hunter why should they use trail cameras, period? I mean, what's the point of using trail cameras?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, really, things kind of started out as they were nice to have. They weren't really that useful when it came down to having to take it and get the film developed. But thankfully, things have progressed, and cameras have really come a long way, and not a long time. And now they're just, I think they're vital to deer hunting in general, especially if you want to chase big bucks. Obviously, woodsmanship is still very important, but if you put woodsmanship with trail cameras and kind of put them together, I think it can take any hunter to the next level. And really, they're fun to use. It's fun to see deer grow year over year, and just kind of collect that data and try to aggregate something and make a move on something. And if you're not using cameras, you better be driving around scouting a bunch, because I think that's the only way that it comes close to them.
No doubt, man. Yeah, it is fun. And Casey and I are actually talking about checking some trail cameras today, and we're trying to figure out like a game plan, because you have to kind of like, I feel like sometimes you have to figure out, am I just checking this one for fun, or am I checking this one because I have a reason to? And so like, sometimes it's just so fun that you just kind of overlook that, and you're just always wanting to check them. But I feel like that could, definitely kind of play against you in a lot of situations.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's a kind of an evolution of a trail camera junkie. I think when you first get them, or like when you're first getting into them, you definitely check them too often. Mm-hmm. And then you're checking them every week, and then you do see the negative effect of, man, you keep getting this picture of a buck. You check them too often, you push them off the area. And then I think kind of as things evolve, then you kind of mature and you don't check them as often, which I think is pretty key. Or
you just end up with so many that you can't get to all of them in time, and that's also a good way to mitigate your problem. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is not really a problem to have at all. It's actually really cool.
Yeah, there's Chad. He has some cameras out, and I was talking to him this weekend about that, and he said, "Yeah, I haven't checked him since mid-November."
Oh my goodness!
And it's August, and I was like, "Man,
that's kind of exciting, though." He's like probably got rut action on there,
Absolutely, yeah. He'll have some Thanksgiving action, and then hopefully some velvet bucks too. But I mean, that's to the extreme of not checking them.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. So why another trail camera company? Why does Exodus exist?
Yeah, I mean, it all boils down to we were a consumer just like everyone else, buying trail cameras and ultimately getting disappointed with performance, and then honestly getting disappointed with customer service, which is something everyone can control. And so, we got thrown through the ring around, and we would buy cameras, they would break, we'd call them, nothing would happen, and it's like, this is a problem, this is an issue. We know we're not the only ones running into this. let's fix this problem. So we engineered a camera that is darn near bulletproof, and have the customer support to back it up. And on top of that, offer the industry's best warranty for 5 years. And if it's stolen or damaged within those 5 years, we have your back. And that's something that no one else has done. And we take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, I definitely think the warranty thing is like, I don't know, from a business plan, how that stacks up for you guys. But I mean, it's for the consumer, man, it is a very, I'll call it fair deal,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's a reason why we put a 5-year warranty on that. We're buying the best components, and with the double latch system, those are some things that, we went the extra mile to make sure that it's viable to offer a 5-year warranty. So when we do that, we think it's going to last 6 or 7 years. Right.
Yeah, for sure. So how did Exodus get its name? What does it mean to you guys?
Yeah, so Exodus, it boils down to mass departure, and we were kind of departing from the original kind of typical way companies are ran in the outdoor industry. We're consumer direct, so we cut out the middleman, we cut our retail to serve our end consumer a little bit better, and that's a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome, man. So one of the reasons we want to talk to you about this kind of stuff is because this time of year is like super hardcore trail camera season for us, and it's such like a pump fest. And I know y'all just are wrapping up Velvet Fest, and actually the voting's going on for that. I voted for that yesterday. And when does that end, and what's going on with that?
So we're extending it to August 17th.
Okay.
You can head to that blog and vote for your favorite one, and we'll be giving away a giant prize package.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, so we'll link to that below. But, okay, so, that's kind of our goal today is to get out and check and get some of these preseason pictures and really kind of start formulating, like, I don't like to use the term fall hit list, but we'll just use it for this, purpose. Like, figure out what target bucks we're getting on our cameras that we know, what ones are new and whatnot. But how do you go about formulating, a hit list off of camera pools and off of information that you get from your cameras?
Yeah, a lot of that it boils down to historical data. If I'm getting on one, there's one buck in particular. I know his core area. He's lived there for this will be his 3rd year. This is the 3rd year I'm hunting this property. He's been there since he was 2.5, I would say. Core area. He hangs out there till mid-November, and then he ends up back there. So he's obviously on the hit list, and then just kind of taking the data from previous years and knowing that, okay, this property, bucks probably won't show up until late October. Don't panic. This guy showed up last year at this time. I wonder what he looks like this year. And then obviously try to check the camera, see if he's a hit list buck for you. So a lot of it, long story short, is just taking in the previous data, making a mental checklist and going from there.
Yeah, cool. And I know previous years have been good to you. Didn't you just get 2 deer back from the taxidermist?
I did, yeah. I got 2 nice bucks in Illinois last year. I was very grateful.
Man. So I didn't know you killed 2. I knew you killed the one big one that I've seen quite a bit, but I didn't know you'd killed both. And those are both from Illinois, both from the 2017 season.
Correct. Yeah, the first one. My goal going into the season was shoot a Pope and Young buck.
It's a good goal,
like official. Yeah. And I got a picture. The first buck I shot, he was hitting a field. I checked the cameras. It would have been probably the 3rd week of October. He was hitting the field every night, feeding in there, and then I set up on him and I got him tailing a doe into a CRP field and whacked him, and he scored mid 130s.
Nice.
Which I was extremely excited about. I'm not a seasoned veteran.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the other one is actually kind of a funny story in itself too, in terms of trail cameras. The property nearby is for sale. Yeah, so and it's just an awesome deer neighborhood. It's a property I don't hunt a bunch. There's a lot of hunting pressure from other folks on it. Just one of those days, perfect scenario. I hung a stand there a week before. Historically, just fantastic spot. He came by, shot him, extremely excited. And then this winter, probably would have been around January or so, I was just looking at that listing, and sure enough, he had the agent had a picture of the buck I shot on there. Yeah. And, so I messaged him. I knew him. I've talked to him before, and I said, "Hey, do you have any more pictures of this buck?" And he said, "I do." "Yeah, awesome." And I said, and he commented on when I posted it, and he said, "I didn't even put 2 and 2 together." But anyways, I said, "Do you have any more pictures?" And he sent a bunch. He had a picture of him 2 hours before I shot him that morning at like 4:40, and that was like a mile away. So he was, it was this peak rut and a good location. Then he was coming from the opposite direction as well, so he made a lot of distance in that 2 hours.
So he made a mile in 2 hours. That's crazy. So what, is he with a doe when you saw him, or was he just out cruising?
He wasn't. He actually was. He was moving pretty slow. I shot him at like 6:50 in the morning, so it was just one of those mornings where you knew it was going to happen, or felt like it. I looked to my left, and it was an extremely brushy area. It was doe bedding through there, and he was hitting a scrape, and instantly, like, heart rate increases to 1,000. And this is the first time I hung and hunted this stand, and it was just a fresh stand. He came through and walked underneath my stand. I swear he heard me breathing. I was standing so heavy, and I shot him at like 9 or 10 yards, and it was
Golly.
absolutely awesome.
Yeah. So what was he doing 2 hours before? It was in the dark, I'm guessing, right? So almost
he was
5
at a
o'clock.
scrape. Yep, he was at a scrape over there. So I assume he was. I'm not an expert with scrape activity, but I'm assuming he was checking the scent of that scrape, and then he hit another scrape that I saw. So I think he was just looking for a hot doe, I assume.
Yeah. What date was that?
That was November 10th.
November 10th. Okay.
Hey, I shot my deer on November 10th last year, too.
That's right.
There's a lot to be said about that. I think November 10th is a beautiful day.
Man, it is. I'll tell you, I've heard a lot of people talk about, early November, and I know Bill Winke and some of his crew have always talked about November 7th, and I think it's a great day for sure. But I don't know if it's just like southern latitudes or what, but I've had some pretty good hunts in like later than that, you know what I'm saying? Obviously the 10th was a good day last year, but I've had some late November hunts that were really, really, really good.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that too. My desktop was extremely messy. Like, I have a 27-inch Mac. I had icons all the way to the left, and I said I have to do something. So I went through and I was going through some of the old pictures, and I had multiple really big bucks that were kind of elusive in November 24th, November 25th, and Don Higgins swears by that Thanksgiving, week or weekend, bucks kind of frantically looking for those last does, at least in the Midwest. I don't know how that is for you guys, but here, if you haven't shot a buck before the second week in November, don't give up and hit that Thanksgiving weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think down here it's a very similar scenario. You just scoot a couple weeks back on the calendar. So, our buck activity, we kind of have more of a trickle kind of rut. It's just the bell curve is wider. So, yes, there is quite a bit of chasing going on, even late October. But I think the peak buck movement is more like that Thanksgiving area. So the same thing would apply, just kind of more like that December 10th to 15th for us, same kind of deal. Where, our trail cameras last year really showed that. We had a target buck leader. He was on camera, was it the 7th? Tailing a doe. We had a really cool sequence of him. But then, we saw that deer Thanksgiving morning, tending a doe. So, he's just rutting pretty much through the whole month, but same kind of thing. On that first buck, you did have him on camera, and you used the camera integrally as part of how you killed that deer, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a pretty small track. I say it's a small track, but it's 100 acres, but only 90 of it is field. So it's a place you could easily burn out pretty quick. Historically, there's been a good buck, and when I say a good buck, like 130, sometimes 140, 150, but he was the biggest buck that we had all summer, and I still ran those cameras afterwards, and he was the biggest buck on that track that we got pictures of anyways. But he was hitting that field, and is just checked it. He was there, multiple days, and all the conditions were correct, and moved in and shot him. And I shot him pretty early too. I shot him at like 3:40 or so in the afternoon. And
wow.
He was, there was a doe that came by, and about 10 minutes later he came by. So I don't know it's just hard to tell. I mean, I would say he was a 3.5-year-old buck, so I know those bucks get a little more eager a little bit earlier than the mature bucks. So that could have been something, but I mean, he met my goal. So
yeah, no kidding.
I was happy about it.
That's right, man. And it's cool that you didn't like cave. There's such if you allow it, there's such pressure amongst hunters, and I guess you could say amongst the industry, to shoot like really old mature bucks, and it's fun. We all like to do that, but if you set a goal of shooting a pup and young buck, and a deer gets your heart rate up, you shouldn't feel bad at all about shooting the deer. It's awesome. And what's cool is you got to accomplish the goal you set, which I didn't get to do that last year personally, so I'm kind of envious of you being able to do that for sure, man. That's cool. So how did you decide, how to place that camera on that property? Because, we try to pattern bucks, early season like that, or try to get something done in October. But sometimes you end up shuffling a camera around trying to make that happen. But it sounds like you're pretty precise where you placed your camera. Was there any science behind, how you placed your camera or how you hung it and whatnot?
Yeah, there was some, and I probably shift my cameras more around than I should. I get frustrated and think it's just like anyone. Like when you hang a stand and you hang it, and you're like, "Crap, I should have hung it in that tree." Same thing for trail cameras. There was historically there's bedding in this ditch, and then they head on up and feed in this secluded corner. I mean, I'm in Illinois. It's really flat. A lot of the fields that can be seen from the road. This one, it rolls. There's a little bit of rolling hill in the field, and it's secluded, so they feel really safe back there. And I just kind of set it on a area where they were going to feed and where they're going to come out of that bedding area. And sure enough, I got pictures of him in the morning and the evening. And then when I checked that, he met my criteria, and I said, I'm going to move in and try to kill him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
When did you first pick him up on trail camera?
I did get him in a bachelor group with 2 other bucks earlier in the year. And then I didn't really get a lot of pictures of him. And so, yeah, I guess the summer would be the answer, but it wasn't necessarily his core area by all means.
Mm-hmm. So what was the date again? Did you say what the date was that you shot him?
I want to say it was the 22nd or 23rd. I wish I would have known for sure, but 22nd or 23rd. I mean, still.
I shot my doe last year on one of those days too. Yeah. So I don't know I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a ways from Texas or where we hunt, but I don't know. I mean, I know weather patterns can move across the U.S. pretty quickly. I'm sure there might be some kind of correlation that you could find there.
Yeah, I will say this too. I know you guys had Jeff Sturgis, or you interviewed him recently, and I think everyone will enjoy listening to him. He's a genius when it comes to whitetail hunting. Yeah, and he kind of has his point system. And both those days I shot those bucks were I think it's like a 5 is considered like you need to be in the stand. Uh-huh. Both of those days were whatever point number that was. I think those specific days were good. I didn't have a ton of activity, prior or after on cameras across the board. Walking in when I shot that first buck, I saw a little buck hitting a scrape in a field. I pulled up my binos, so I had a good feeling about that. I mean, a 3.5-year-old buck hitting a scrape in the middle of the afternoon, essentially. And then the second buck I shot, when I was walking in, it was extremely dark. I got there plenty early, and I about stepped on a deer. I don't know what it was. and it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And then I got in my stand, still plenty early, and snuck right in. And as I was sitting there, I just hear, this roaring grunt, and you can just tell. And it was still probably in a 60-yard radius of my stand, and this crashing and rutting. I was like, all right, well, I'm in the right spot. They would probably put up with another deer being scared, given just how chaotic the timber was that day.
Man, that's cool. I'm just getting stoked thinking about it, man. So in your area, when are you expecting a change in pattern or core area? What time of year?
That's a great question. It's different for every area. I would say, unfortunately, in one property, we have a ton of bucks in the summer. And as kind of the velvet disappears, so do they. Mm-hmm. And so I think in that case, they go away, and kind of right before they're starting to go hard horn, or
is that because of does?
transition.
Are they? You feel like they're starting to get interested in does, or is it a change in like food source, or what?
I think they just have a lot more tolerance in the summer, and then the does take up the primary area on that property, and they go to a little more secluded area. We love to enjoy our property. I mean, if we were hardcore deer hunters, I don't think we would be there as often, but it's a couple miles from my house, and we love to go down there and enjoy it. So I think that has something to do with it. And I think their brains just don't work when they have so much blood pumping to their velvet.
Yeah. Man, that's funny. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the thing about enjoying your property, because sometimes, or a lot of times, you hear guys that are very hardcore about hunting, and we get to interview a lot of those guys, talk about waiting until the perfect day, like the point system that is whatever it is that's the highest before you go into your best stand. And I think that there's something to be said for that. And if your main goal is kill a mature buck, then that's definitely what you want to do. But like, you're also going to miss out on days sitting in the stand when you could be sitting there just relaxing or enjoying the woods, a good crisp fall day, and just the other things that we hunt for. And so like, I really do find value in being able to sit in a stand somewhere, and if nothing else. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Absolutely.
So in case there's somebody out there that's listening that's really new to this stuff, can you kind of lay out a very basic idea of how to hang a trail camera correctly once you find the spot?
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes there's a lot more to it than what you expect, and sometimes maybe not. When it comes to just hanging a stand, there's a lot of things you want to consider. Make sure that the detection circuit's going to work in its best way, and to touch on that lightly. A lot of people would initially think that just pointing the camera straight ahead on a trail, I mean, the lens is looking square away at that trail, is the best way. That's where the camera's going to perform best. And it couldn't be any more wrong, honestly. You want to have it to where the camera's kind of perpendicular to the target trail. The detection circuit's going to be better. And if kind of that sweet zone is 20 to 30 foot back, the field of view is a little bit wider. So at 30 foot, it's going to be like roughly 24 foot wide, versus if it was at 10 foot, the field of view is only going to be 8 foot wide. So a further area, you have a wider detection area, which is key, and you're going to get better pictures.
Mm-hmm. Does that mean that, like, so I did some living room testing the other day, of course, and
I saw that.
So that's the best place I had at the time. But when you're too close to the camera, it almost seemed that your trigger can be set off preemptively, and you don't get a good picture of the deer. But if you, or of the KC walking around in the living room, but if you set that, like you're saying, like 30 foot back, does that mean once the deer hits the detection circuit, he will be completely in the field of view?
Yeah, you'll have a higher likelihood of that, definitely. And if you're not running burst mode on your trail camera, just strongly suggested. It just increases the odds. But yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic point, because if it is close, you're gonna think it's missed triggers, but it really could just be a deer, or it could be a raccoon or whatever. But you just want to have it on burst, and you want that kind of like 20 to 30 and maybe even a 40 foot as the target area where you want that camera to trigger and take photos of.
About what angle is the best sensor, best part of the sensor shooting at, is to the, I guess, from the straight on look?
Yeah, from like the sensor, I would say, like, if you were looking over the camera and your nose was over the lens, I would say like 45 degrees either way would be really good. And it's been a long time since I took geometry, so I might have botched that.
Yeah. So, and I also, for a newbie, finding the spot is pretty critical too. I mean, or for any of us really. I mean, Casey and I have trouble finding the spot to hang the camera. I mean, we can find a spot where deer are heavily trafficked through, but especially on a lot of the public land stuff, deer kind of wander and don't take a take a direct and make a huge beat in trail. And so finding where that deer is going to be, I think we might have talked about this before, but you can hang a camera on a tree and face it towards the trail, and if they end up coming behind the camera, for some reason, I guess that's an old trail or whatever, you're not going to have anything on there, and you're going to think there's nothing in there. So how are you finding a spot? Is there any areas you can key in on that are just high traffic, and you can kind of work backwards from there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. You said, work back from there. So I would try to find some sort of destination spot, whether that is a scrape, later in the year, or, really not too far from here, or a food source. Here in the Midwest, soybeans in the summer are as good as it gets. In Illinois, we can't bait or put mineral out. So you can't do that. But if you're in another premier destination like Iowa or Ohio, and you're on private ground, utilize that if you can. And if you're just starting out, you're going to get a picture of almost every deer in the area. If you got, if they're following in for that, or if they need the nutrition or minerals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're a pretty heavy corn state where you can use corn as to feed or whatever. And I've got a buddy though that this time of year he really likes to use mineral blocks or rocks. And you can get them cheap as a block from the feed store, or you can buy them with maybe a couple extra ingredients as like a trophy rock or something like that. But he likes to use those a lot this time of year, and I think they keep the coons away and the hogs and that kind of thing, which is important for guys like us in the South, So, but he gets a ton of pictures this time of year of big old giant velvet bucks. So It's a good tip for sure. Is there anything you can do that kind of increases your odds that a potential thief would miss your camera when you're
unfortunately, what it boils down to is you can only keep an honest man honest in a lot of these situations. But with that being said, we found most success in elevating the camera, one climbing stick high, or if you have if you're a little bit of a monkey, you can climb a tree and do that too. That would be, that's been our best success. However, if you want to do a lockbox, that's fine. What we've heard from talking to a lot of people is when you have it eye level and the trespasser gets a picture taken of them, they will do everything to make sure that you guys aren't going to receive that picture. Yeah. So they'll chop down the tree. They'll bash your camera and steal the SD card, or they'll just steal the SD card. So out of sight, out of mind is kind of what it boils down to.
Yep. I've always kind of wondered if there's a little bit of like a Oedipus thing going on with the lock boxes, to where like if you lock up your camera, suddenly they think that there's something like really of value in there, and they might do more to actually get to your camera as opposed to just putting your camera on the tree. Have you ever seen or heard of something like that?
No, that's a really good point though. I guess I've never really looked at that. That would kind of line up with some of the people that we've talked to is, they have the lock boxes, and then, if you're not going to lock up a $40 camera, and you're probably going to lock up something north of $150.
That's true, but where we live, they all get stolen. Doesn't matter 40 or 140. So,
that's frustrating.
So what about, because you guys offer a security code option on your cameras where you can basically lock your camera. So, if somebody doesn't know your code, they can't access the camera and use it. Is that correct, basically?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So they obviously could still steal your card. I wish you can lock up your card on our camera. You can lock the latches. But anyways, if they can't guess that code, they're not going to be able to access your camera or really use it. So it's kind of worthless in that sense. So you can have peace of mind in that. However, the beauty of kind of our customer service and how we handle things is when you buy a camera and you register it, it's to your name. And then if you guys have a camera out in Texas, someone steals it, they call us and they say, "Hey, I bought one of your cameras and I forgot to register it. Can you reset the code?" Well, number one, they have to send the camera in, we're going to look up that registration and say, okay, well, this belongs to you guys. And we call you and say, so-and-so has your camera. We're going to send it in. And, you know, but we haven't had that happen a bunch. But, yeah, I mean, that's just something that we do that no one else kind of goes above and beyond for. I mean, we take that serious. And if you're running an Exodus camera, you probably are really passionate about wildlife or deer hunting. So we want to take care of those people.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like I've been using mine, and I just I've got a new private spot that I've got permission on, and I'm just like, man, it's not that big, you know, and I just know the people that live around us, you know, and it's just unfortunate. But the guy, if he comes across, and we did have some pictures in the postseason of guys that showed up on some of our cameras that left them alone. Definitely saw them, you know, so I appreciate that. But I do know last year I went in early November to check cameras that had been hanging, and we had like 5 of them get stolen in one area. I mean, it's like a 2-mile span, but apparently some guy went in there and just followed our exact tracks and picked everything off, I guess. But it's frustrating, you know, and more than anything, like you said, the SD cards, you know, it's the information that you missed out on. It's like, man, I just wasted my time and effort and lost all information from the last 2 months on this camera, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're losing the second half of October to the second half of November, I mean, that's the best 30 days of the year for trail camera data.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. And that's worth a ton in itself. And actually that kind of roots to the pain point of how Exodus got started. It was a deal very similar to that, and he said, "Enough's enough. We need to change something."
Yeah.
So we took it in our own hands.
Yeah, sure. So earlier you talked a little bit about burst mode on your camera and utilizing that, and I've been, you know, messing back and forth between burst and video, and you know, doing the hybrid thing as well. Can you tell me a situation where video or burst would be more advantageous to the other?
Yeah, this year I'm running pretty much all video on all my Lift 2s.
Yeah.
That's mainly for work purposes. Yeah. But I think as far as video, there's a lot of value in that. I think a lot of people are switching to it. Obviously there's pros and cons to that. Some of the advantages is you're able to kind of see the demeanor of the deer, see if they're calm. When he's walking through, does he look relaxed? Or, you know, is he looking aggressive? Is his neck swollen and he's panting and you can hear it through the video?
Yeah, it's cool.
And I mean, that's something. And then kind of the disadvantage of that is, well, you have to watch through a whole bunch of videos, and obviously that takes up more time.
Right,
and then as far as the burst mode goes, I'm a fan of that for the treks. I'm definitely going to be using the burst mode. And you just it's kind of a cheap man's version of a video.
Right.
See what's going on in a short burst of time. The hybrid, though, I think as far as the best use, I would say is probably a scrape. You're able to get a good picture, and then obviously there's a little bit of recovery time to fire up that video, which, I mean, just being straightforward with that. But otherwise, I would stick with just video or burst. And then if you're putting over scrape, run the hybrid. Or even if it's over a food source or mineral site, hybrid could be useful there too.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So when you talked about on the trek, you know, wanting to do burst, is that because of image quality, or is that a little bit slower trigger speed?
So the Trek has a 0.7 trigger speed, which is, I mean, still pretty quick.
Yeah.
It has a fantastic detection circuit. The main thing is the Lift 2 takes awesome video. So when you start running the Lift 2s with video, it's hard to go back to the Trek. The Trek does do 720 30 frames per second, or 1080 15 frames per second. But honestly, for anyone who's familiar with Exodus, the Trek photos are very similar to our original Lift series. And I love the pictures from the Lift series, the original Lift 1. The night pictures on the Trek are really solid. It has a little less bulbs in the Lift 2. But for that price point and given the warranty, I mean, I really I really think we hit the nail on the head for the trek. And something that we do different too is we listen to our customers. We listen to everyone. And they said, hey, we love what you guys do. We love the 5-year warranty, but we're not exactly excited to spend $229 on a camera. Is there anything you guys can do? And so we went to the development and we made it as affordable as possible and still a camera that we're happy to put our name on and is going to last a long time. So that's kind of the story behind the Trek.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And we've been utilizing them lately and really liked them. And I think today, actually, we're going to get a couple of Lift 2s out and probably be running video, because it's something I've noticed about video is that, trail cameras already give you a more personal feel to the hunt for a deer. I feel like it's a part of my connection to the animal, and I really enjoy that, the history aspect and just like feeling like you know them, and you like, this might sound weird, but like you're involved in their lives almost, you know what I mean? Like, their daily habits, and that's so cool. And then whenever you watch it on video, it's just another level of connection with the animal that's just like something I crave when I'm in the woods.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I couldn't agree more. And when you go back and watch an old video from October or November, that target buck that you weren't able to get on, and you watch a video of them, I mean, if you need any motivation, just go back to that, because that'll get you excited.
Oh yeah, man. So you guys have a few tips and stuff on your YouTube channel, some helpful stuff on there. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that's something we're trying to do more, is provide a lot of valuable content as much as possible. So moving forward, we're going to be pumping out videos on YouTube that isn't just topical advice. We're trying to go in a little bit deeper. If you're seeking that information, you probably know the basics. So we're trying to be as helpful as possible and do our best. And honestly, on our blog too, we have some really in-depth pieces that, when I read them again, I still learn something. And one of those is the how trail camera detection circuits work, which I kind of reference a little bit. And then the science of trail camera batteries. I mean, that we get a lot of visitors on analytics show that a lot of people like that. And I mean, there's just so much to be learned, and a lot of people, I wouldn't say ignorance, but there's just a lot of unknown, and people just look at it as a trail camera, whatever. There's a lot you can do to get the most out of your trail camera, and that's kind of what we try to do and go above and beyond. Even if you don't run an Exodus trail camera, we still want everyone to get the most of what they're doing. Right.
Yeah. We need a strong hunting community, whether they're buying our products or not. Correct.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's our biggest thing is, we want everyone to be successful. We want to help anyone in any way. And that goes to anyone listening to this. Send us a message, and it could be a question about anything, and we'll do our best to answer it. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. We'll definitely make sure we link to all of your guys' blog, YouTube channel, Velvet Fest voting, that kind of thing. And man, good luck this fall. We appreciate the call, Jake.
Absolutely, yeah. And thanks again, and thanks for having us. And we're big fans of what you guys are doing, and I hope you guys have a fantastic year.
Thanks, man. We'll be talking to you.
Absolutely, yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right, see ya. Man, there's some cool tips there.
Yes.
I mean, the angled sensor kind of thing, that was like news to me.
I know it, man. I just always imagined it was like a shotgun where like the it was strongest in the middle, and then you had some flyers, but that's not it at all. It's like like a discus ring or whatever. Like you got the two lines going out the side. Yeah. That's kind of what it's like. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's neat.
So when we've been pointing trail cameras like straight down a trail, that's not the thing to do.
I guess not. I guess you want to point them to where the center would be when the deer's at like 10 or 15 feet, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Something like that, I don't know. Maybe that's a reason to put them perpendicular.
Well, maybe it's a reason to put them like 45.
Yeah.
You remember the place, the Big Six place from late last season?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we had that trail camera set up. It was set in like a 45 degree, so like that trail kind of came in at an angle to the middle of the camera.
Yeah.
And we had great pictures on
We
that
did.
thing.
We actually did. We had as our best pull we've ever had.
It was.
So it's a good point, man. I'm excited to get out and pull these cameras. I think we're going to try to do this late this week or maybe this weekend. And then we're not far from being in Montana.
Oh, man, I'm excited about that. Going to get to test out my new boots for real.
Yep, your
up
newts.
there. My newts, yeah. And do a little fly fishing. And we're going up there for the TRCP Media Summit, which will be all right, let me get this right because CPW is on my mind from earlier. CWD, with a CWD heavy emphasis.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go up there. And last year we did a little bit about this. And then in the past, 2 years, CWD has become a pretty big deal in Texas because we haven't had it for long. And it just somehow, some way just makes these huge jumps right in the middle of the state. I don't know how that happens, but I do actually. But if you use your head, you'll know. But I think that's what most of what we're going to talk about is going to be. And then we're also going to do some fishing while we're there so get this. While we're there, we're going to be fishing with the former president of Trout Unlimited. And then what is Corey? Is he...
I don't know for sure, actually.
I can't remember.
But he's
another Trout Unlimited guy.
Yeah.
So we'll be like touring sims. We're gonna try to hook up with some other folks while we're up there.
We're gonna be doing some cool stuff. I'm really excited, man. It's there's a lot of guys that live in that area that are important guys to the hunting community. Mm-hmm. Important voices, guys that have lived there and do live there, and it's just a cool area from what I understand. I was, I guess I would be a bit east of there where I was earlier this summer. But I'm just, I'm excited to go up there, and we're going to probably spend a few days kind of camping, hiking, fishing kind of thing. And then
right in the heart of hopper season, from what I understand.
Dude, I
meadow sections galore.
So we're excited about that. Anything else happening?
That's it, man. Just a bunch of hunting season hype. Got the film coming out, and gonna go elk hunting after that, man. It's time to get in a tree stand after whitetail.
That's right, man. I'm pumped. I'm ready to put some meat in the freezer and share some good times, man. The last thing I'd leave you guys with is make sure that if you want that OnX Premium membership, you got a good chance of getting it. We're giving 2 of them away. All you got to do is scroll down at the podcast app if you use the iTunes podcast app or the Apple podcast app, whatever it is, the purple one. I know for a fact all you got to do is scroll down, and at the bottom it'll give you a chance to review. You give us a good 5-star review, and you're going to have a good chance of getting one of those premium memberships from OnX. So make sure you do that, and also make sure you're getting out and, hanging some cameras, some stands, doing some preseason work, and getting ready so that you can set yourself up for a great season this year. And I hope you guys are having a good summer. God bless you guys, and remember, this is your element.
Living it.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.